everyone, it's Jacqueline from Pixie Dust PhD. Today we will be discussing the Disney Vacation Club waitlist mechanism. If you're interested in these kind of nitty-gritty mechanics on how Disney Vacation Club works, please do check out the other videos on my channel. I have an entire playlist of helpful Disney Vacation Club content for you to explore. To view that, you can click the card in the corner, and I'll leave the link to the playlist in the description below. And if you find this video helpful, please remember to hit that thumbs up button to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. You can ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever I post new videos. In this video, we'll go over what we know for sure about the DVC waitlist. I'll tell you what I've learned through speaking to multiple Disney Vacation Club cast members about the mechanics, and also I'll show you my experience with the DVC waitlist. Even with incomplete information, this video should help demystify the DVC waitlist for you, so stay tuned. Imagine this, you are a DVC owner and you go to book your wonderful vacation in the villa of your choice. But dang, that dream doesn't work out quite perfectly. Essentially, like any hotel really, there is only so much inventory for Disney Vacation Club. This means that sometimes specific villas are completely booked up. If the room type that you were hoping to snag is completely booked up for your travel dates, you can put yourself on the wait list. That way, in theory, if someone with this room already booked decides to modify or cancel their reservation, you are in line to snag that room and make your vacation dreams come true. First, let's go over what we definitely know about the waitlist. Putting yourself on the waitlist is simple. When you are trying to book a Disney Vacation Club resort, if there isn't availability, you can go ahead and make a waitlist request. You choose the expiration for that waitlist request, either 31 days or 7 days prior to arrival. You also choose whether or not you want to authorize the Disney Vacation Club cast members to borrow points from your next use year if needed. You cannot allow them to borrow, or if you are okay with them borrowing, you can choose the contract with which you want them to borrow from. If you are making a waitlist request to replace an existing reservation, you can also note that. If your waitlist comes through, the DVC cast member will then cancel your existing booking and use those points to book what you wanted on the waitlist. If you do end up replacing a booking with this mechanism, note that any Disney dining plan associated with the previous booking that's now been replaced will be refunded and canceled. If you still want the Disney dining plan, you'll need to go ahead and repurchase that in order to associate it with your new successful waitlist request reservation. Dining plans are associated with your reservation number, so if you get a new reservation number, that necessitates also changing your dining plan. In this case, your old reservation gets canceled, so does your dining plan. This is likely obvious, but please note that a waitlist request is not a guarantee. The room type that you're hoping to snag on the dates that you want to travel may simply never become available. There just is a set amount of villa inventory at any given time. It's not like Disney Vacation Club releases more rooms eventually. Because this isn't a guarantee, in my opinion, it's good to have a backup plan. Personally, I would book something even if it's not what I ideally want. For example, let's say I want to stay 6 nights at the boardwalk, but only 5 nights are available. I would go ahead and book those 5 nights at the boardwalk and then fill that one other night at somewhere with availability, likely Saratoga Springs or Old Key West or similar. Then I would put myself for the wait list for that one night at the boardwalk and indicate that I do want to replace the existing booking either at Old Key West or Saratoga Springs. For me, this strategy remains true no matter where that one unavailable night is, whether it's at the beginning or end of my trip or even in the middle. If the waitlist doesn't come through, this means I would have a split stay and I would have to do the transfers between Boardwalk and Old Key West or Saratoga or similar. That's a little bit annoying, don't get me wrong. But I still think that's a better option than ending up having to pay cash to stay somewhere to fill that one night once all of Disney Vacation Club gets booked up. There are, of course, rules to creating a waitlist request. First, the booking window applies. This means if you are trying to waitlist a resort between 11 months and 7 months prior to your arrival, you can only do that at your home resort. Once you hit that 7-month mark, though, you are able to open up your waitlist requests to resorts outside of your home resort for Disney Vacation Club. Previously, I noted that you get to choose the expiration for your waitlist requests at either 7 days or 31 days prior to arrival. You can continue to submit waitlist requests up until 7 days prior to your arrival, although of course, submitting them sooner rather than later is advisable. However, once you are within that 7-day window to your arrival, the waitlist is no longer available to you. In my personal opinion, which is backed with absolutely no data, I think that your chances of getting a waitlist request to come through after that 31-day mark seem slim. DVC members who cancel prior to 30 days in advance of their arrival get their points back without any restrictions. So seemingly, more people who will be modifying and canceling their reservations will be doing it prior to that 30-day mark. Staying on the waitlist until 7 days before your arrival absolutely won't hurt you by any means. But I would guess once you're inside that 30-day mark, your chance for success is probably a little bit slim. Next, you cannot have unlimited waitlist requests. You can have up to 2 active waitlist requests per membership per use year. Also, as a member, if you're not in good standing, then you may not have access to the waitlist. They also try to make it so you can't game the system. Waitlist requests for consecutive nights cannot be split up into separate night-by-night reservations. For example, if you want to stay 7 consecutive nights in the same room type at the Polynesian and you'd like to make a waitlist request, that has to be one request. You cannot split that up into 2 separate requests of the first 3 nights followed by the last 4 nights. Once you make a waitlist request, you can easily view, modify, or cancel that on your MyDVC dashboard just like any reservation. And if your waitlist request is granted and booked, then the normal cancellation rules apply. If you cancel the accommodation 30 days or less prior to your arrival date, then those points used to book that vacation will be put into holding. To learn more about the DVC cancellation policy, you can check out the video I did on this topic by clicking the card in the corner, and you'll find the link in the description below. Let's return to my prior example of wanting 6 consecutive nights at the boardwalk, but only 5 being available. If my waitlist request for that last night comes through, note that these will technically be separate reservation numbers. You can call Disney Vacation Club membership though and have them link those reservations. This will hopefully help you avoid changing rooms. Without getting those reservations linked, you may be subject to changing rooms. Note that the reservation guarantees you a room type, not a specific room. So without Disney knowing that these reservations are linked, they may have you change rooms. But generally speaking, Disney Vacation Club Member Services is able to take care of this for you. Past these rules and information about how to make a waitlist request, Disney Vacation Club really doesn't have much publicly available information on the waitlist. Even behind the member login, the exact mechanics of the waitlist are a bit of a mystery. I have spoken with a couple of Disney Vacation Club cast members who have told me essentially the same thing. Here's my understanding of how the waitlist is supposed to work based on that intel. The waitlist is a combination of automatic and manual processes. The gist of it is that if a room becomes available due to folks modifying or canceling their already booked reservations, and there are other owners on the waitlist for this room type on those dates, then that inventory should get held. This inventory is not supposed to go back online for general booking, it is instead supposed to be held for those on the waitlist. This part of the process should happen automatically. Then, at least daily, Disney Vacation Club cast members receive reports of these automatic holds and the folks on the waitlist. Finally, the cast members then manually go through those reports and make those bookings for you. Sounds pretty straightforward, but of course there are some caveats. First is that the inventory that becomes available through cancellations or modifications has to match your request more or less exactly. For example, if I'm on the waitlist for 2 nights at the beach club and one of those nights becomes available, I'm not going to be present on that report that the Disney Vacation Club cast members get at least daily. Even though that one night falls within the 2 nights I want, it doesn't match what I'm asking for. This means I won't even show up on the report for Disney Vacation Club cast members to consider booking that one night for me. Next is that you have to have enough points in your account. When you place yourself on the waitlist, you can agree to have cast members borrow from your next use year's allotment of points if needed. But let's say even with borrowing, you could not cover the amount of points required. You can actually still put yourself on the waitlist, but if your desired room shows up and you're first in line and you match on that report, then the Disney Vacation Club cast member is going to see that you don't have enough points and they're just going to cancel your waitlist request. To them, you do not have enough points to fulfill this request. This is true even if you could purchase one-time use vacation points. Currently, you can purchase up to 24 one-time use vacation points per year at a rate of $19 per point, and these can be used within the 7-month booking window. As an example, let's say I'm on the waitlist for 2 nights at the Polynesian in a Lakeview studio, and this will cost me 48 points. Also say I've already used all of my current use year's points, and I've used most of next use year's points, but I still have 30 left. 30 points would cover one of these nights at the Polynesian, but not both. That being said, I know that I can purchase up to 24 one-time use vacation points, and so I would only need to purchase 18 to fulfill this request. Putting the waitlist aside for a second, if I saw this 2-night reservation at the Polynesian pop up on the online general booking tool, then I could absolutely call member services, purchase those 18 points, and then have them book that reservation for me. Between the 30 points that I can borrow from the next use year and my purchase of 18 one-time use vacation points, I can cover this reservation. However, going back to the waitlist, note that a cast member is not going to call me to purchase these one-time use vacation points if I show up as a match in their daily report. At this time, you also can't pre-authorize Disney Vacation Club cast members purchasing one-time use vacation points in your account to fulfill this waitlist request. The bottom line is that if you don't have enough vacation points accessible in your account, then the waitlist probably isn't for you. In theory, you can choose to gamble. You could call member services and purchase those one-time use vacation points to be in your account, hoping that your waitlist request will come through. Typically, you only buy one-time use vacation points when you're making a reservation, and I did ask if you had to make a reservation to buy one-time use vacation points, and technically you do not. You can just buy them to have in your account, it's just that basically no one ever does this. Your purchase of one-time use vacation points is totally non-refundable, and you can't bank them and you can't transfer them. They live and die in that use year. Cast members did let me know about an interesting hack I thought I would share though. Essentially, as long as you're within that 7-month window, you can purchase one-time use vacation points and then have them reallocate points in an existing reservation. For example, let's say I've used up most of my points for a stay at Bay Lake Tower that I know I will be keeping. I do hope to add this 2-night stay at the Polynesian, which is why I'll be on the waitlist. Sticking with the same examples earlier, let's say that I would be 18 points short. I could call member services, purchase 18 one-time use vacation points, and then have them allocate those one-time use vacation points into my Bay Lake Tower reservation. This reallocation would push 18 of my normal vacation points out into my account for my general use. This way, in theory, if my waitlist doesn't come through, I at least am making good use of those 18 one-time vacation points I purchased. And then, depending on the timing of things for those 18 normal vacation points that got pushed back into my account, I could make another reservation, or hopefully I could even bank them into the next use year. But as I said, this is a gamble pending your vacation plans and the frequency with which you head down to Disney. If you know you'll make good use of those one-time vacation points regardless, then it's probably a safe bet to purchase them in advance. On the other hand, if you don't head down to the Disney parks fairly regularly, it's definitely a bigger risk to consider. Next, be careful what you waitlist. Multiple cast members have confirmed to me that if you have 2 waitlist requests for the same nights and one does come through and gets booked, then your second waitlist request will be canceled within a matter of hours. Meaning, if you're going to have multiple waitlist requests for the same nights, you need to be equally happy with getting whatever happens. For example, say you waitlist both a Bailey Tower 1-bedroom standard view as well as a Lakeview. Say the Lakeview costs 40 points more. If the Lakeview comes through first, you will have that booked and you will get booted out of the standard view waitlist. You can of course put yourself back on that 1-bedroom standard view waitlist, but you may be several slots further down in the waitlist. It literally is a line, and when it gets canceled, you lose your place in line. If you're going to be unhappy spending those 40 extra points for the Lakeview, then I wouldn't make the Lakeview waitlist request to begin with. All cast members I talked to about this general scenario about multiple waitlist requests over the same night suggested really just picking one. Do one waitlist request for the room that you actually want and hope that it comes through. At the very least, your second waitlist request for those same nights needs to be an alternate that you would still be happy with. The last caveat, which is probably the largest, is that it's kind of unclear how well the waitlist works. I don't have access to any data, but generally if you browse various DVC message boards, you'll find people saying that their success rate is around 50%. Part of this just is the limited inventory, especially for certain resorts. And note that because the number of nights that you want on the waitlist needs to match exactly what shows up, you'll probably have better luck with shorter reservations. Anecdotally, folks seem to have a relatively high amount of success when they just want 1 or 2 nights compared to something like a 7-night stay on the waitlist. The only data point I have is one of my personal experience. Back when the vacation points first hit my account, I rushed to make reservations because I was already slightly past that 11-month home resort booking window. I wanted to stay in a standard view studio at Bailey Tower beginning Sunday and then checking out Thursday. Interestingly, that Wednesday night was already fully booked. I did end up making the reservation that was available to me, so Sunday night through Tuesday night and checking out Wednesday. Then I put myself on the waitlist for that Wednesday night. 2 days later, I happened to log on and just casually browse availability. Lo and behold, that Wednesday night was available in the general online booking tool. Therefore, I went ahead and modified my existing reservation that was Sunday night through Tuesday night to be Sunday night through Wednesday night. And then I canceled my waitlist request. In my case, seemingly the waitlist doesn't work. Why was the inventory showing up in the general booking tool online if I knew that I was on the waitlist? When speaking to cast members about this, they came to the same conclusion. Essentially, they postulated that the number of Wednesday night cancellations and modifications to existing reservations outnumbered the number of people on the waitlist. The rest of that freed up inventory did go back to the general online booking tool, which I happened to see. It seems like I probably beat the manual process of the waitlist. Cast members indicate that inventory should have been held for me and I would have been in that daily report to make the change. But because there was general inventory available online and I happened to catch that, I just beat them to the process. I want to be clear that I have no reason to believe that the cast members are lying to me about how this works. That being said, it is a little bit frustrating that the waitlist process isn't more or less totally automatic and happens sort of instantly. When examples like what I run into occur, where I'm on the waitlist but there's inventory available for general booking online, it makes it seem like the waitlist system is a little bit flawed. And while this is a personal experience and just a single data point from me, I have read about very similar things happening to other folks. Ultimately, the canonical advice that I see online and that I definitely agree with is make use of the waitlist, but also do some manual checks yourself. If you want the highest possible success rate of getting your dream reservation, it won't hurt to put a little bit of elbow grease into it. On one hand, of course, this can be a frustrating, time-consuming, and honestly, potentially fruitless process. On the other hand, I think it's nice that the waitlist system exists, even if it is a little bit flawed. That's certainly more than you get with standard hotel rooms or even things like FastPass Plus and advanced dining reservations. What do you think of the waitlist system? Do you trust it fully, or would you be doing manual online checks as well? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you have experience with the waitlist system, I would love to hear it. Considering we'll never get access to that Disney data, anecdotes are the next best thing we have. If you want to chat about anything Disney Vacation Club, definitely leave a comment down below, or you can always find me on other social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram at PixieDustPhD. Trying to snag popular resorts at that 7-month booking window can necessitate the use of the waitlist in many instances, unfortunately. Seemingly, Disney Vacation Club is getting more and more popular every year with increasing membership, but of course the inventory stays more or less static. I am wishing you the absolute best of luck in your future waitlist endeavors, and I hope you send your good vibes to me as well. May the rest of your day be wonderful, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.